camera. Okay, good morning everyone again. In fact, okay, my name is Vivien, and in fact I'm not familiar with the concept of a marriage between indigenous knowledge and AI. I do have this friend from Oxford University, and we too had a discussion, a lengthy discussion about this topic way back in 2023. However, during then I don't dare to think about this marriage between IK and AI, because my research subjects, the indigenous people of Peninsular Malaysia, are a marginalized community in our country. However, an order came from my boss, Prof of AUSN. I started thinking and dreaming about combining our indigenous knowledge of Orang Asli, the indigenous community in Peninsular Malaysia, with AI. And as I finished writing my paper in the very early morning today, and I heard about the UNESCO speaker's remarks and your speech, I am very confident that my dream will come true one day, thanks to Prof. Chanta Langsi and Prof. Darryl, and maybe our UNESCO Emeritus Professor. Thank you in advance. Right, back to my presentation today. First of all, thank you very much for hosting this year's most attended event. And I do not receive any support from our friend ChatGPT, as what Prof. Chanta Langsi has mentioned. Instead, I employ the most common methodology, systematic review for my work this morning. So my topic of presentation this morning is integrating indigenous knowledge with ethical AI to promote social sustainability of indigenous communities in Peninsular Malaysia. While accounting for slightly more than 200,000 people out of a total Malaysian population estimated to be 33.4 million, Peninsular Malaysia's indigenous communities account for nearly 15% of the world's impoverished people. These communities, also known as Orang Asli in Malay, Orang Asli, yeah, okay, are made up of 18 sub-ethnic groups and are critical to the sustainable development of the planet's ecosystems, biodiversity, and land. They are distinguished by their respective indigenous traditions, values, and beliefs. So for today's presentation, I will refer Peninsular Malaysia's indigenous people as Orang Asli. Thank you. Not familiar with this laptop. Okay, this is the map of Malaysia. As you can see on your right hand side is Peninsular Malaysia, and the left hand is West Malaysia, which comprises of two big states, which is Sabah and Sarawak. My research subjects, the Orang Asli, is situated in this Peninsular Malaysia. And the Orang Asli population comprising three main groups, which is the Negritos, the Proto-Malay, and the Sinoi, though each one of them have 6 small ethnicities which come to 18 sub-ethnics. And then from the map, you can see that the darkest color of the state has the highest number of orang asli, and the state is called Pahang, which is my hometown as well. We have beautiful beach for your information. The total population of this Pahang orang asli is around 78,000. Then come to the northern part of the Pahang, which is Perak State, is 61,000. And the central part, which is Selangor, where Amai University and Prof University is, which is Selangor, we have 20,000. And on the east coast side, we have Kelantan, which is 17,000. And the southern part of Peninsular Malaysia, Johor, we have 15,000. A majority of the orang asli live in areas that are rich in biodiversity. Their indigenous resources with its sets of traditional indigenous knowledge gained over generations, and it has been central to the conservation of resources in traditional orang asli areas. This indigenous knowledge has passed through generations and has assured the survival and sustainability of the forest, as well as the people and cultures dependent upon the forest. Indigenous knowledge is more often unwritten. For our orang asli, it is handed down orally from generation to generation. And most of my studies with the culture of orang asli, I will do my in-depth interview, and I will stay with the people in their settlements. And the knowledge has been transmitted and preserved in this way all these years, throughout their years until today. From the perspective of indigenous knowledge, it contains rich cultural connotations and wisdom. In their long-term life practices, indigenous communities have accumulated a unique understanding of nature, society, and their culture. Based on their close connection with the land, ethnic groups, and traditions. For example, they have their own system for the creation and inheritance of works of culture or arts. And these works are not just simple aesthetic expressions, but also carry the history, the beliefs, the rituals, and values of the ethnic groups. As technology advances, combining artificial intelligence or AI with indigenous knowledge can lead to sustainable and innovative solutions. This study investigates the relationship between AI and indigenous knowledge, demonstrating how AI may help preserve the environment, community, and cultural knowledge of orang asli while addressing the ethical issues of AI. For the research questions, the first question is, how can indigenous knowledge systems be adapted and integrated with current cutting-edge AI techniques? For these first questions, it concerns identification of AI that are of interest to indigenous knowledge systems. And exploring this marriage of AI and indigenous knowledge requires an understanding of both AI technologies themselves and knowledge system of indigenous communities. And the second research questions I have here is, how may indigenous knowledge produced by indigenous cultures be used to lead AI development in general towards a more compassionate future? These second questions seek to explore how indigenous knowledge and practices that foster regeneration And reciprocity can inform and guide the evolution of AI systems. These questions derive my research to explore the methodologies and the models that integrate indigenous knowledge with AI, and in doing so, it will prioritize the indigenous knowledge, indigenous communities' well-being, the equality, as well as the justice among the communities. The conceptual structure of my study has been one that I adapted from a study by Bansal and friends in 2023. Collaborative efforts to empower indigenous people to protect their rights and involve them in decision-making processes are essential in light of the 2020 Agenda for Sustainable Development. One promising approach to resolving complex societal issues among Peninsular Malaysia's indigenous community, the Orang Asli, is the integration of indigenous knowledge with AI. This multidisciplinary approach aims to capitalize on the synergies between traditional indigenous knowledge systems and AI-driven technology in order to promote sustainable development, notably social sustainability, and preserve the country's indigenous cultures. The framework that I used, which is the environmental and social framework, is an essential component of social sustainability. It is focusing on critical social concerns such as gender empowerment, education, healthcare, vulnerable group inclusion, and stakeholder involvement in indigenous communities. And embracing indigenous perspective, recognizing, respecting their rights, and working in partnership with indigenous communities are the vital steps towards achieving sustainability that is inclusive, equitable, and rooted in the indigenous cultures and the ecosystems of the communities. Pardon me for looking at my notes, because over the 1 month, I keep on thinking and writing until this morning. So, all right. Several themes have emerged from some of the previous studies during my systematic review on AI and indigenous populations. And these studies are from the Western world, where ChatGPT is. Okay, the first theme, societal impact and cultural sensitivity. The integration of indigenous knowledge systems into AI governance frameworks has profound implications for societal impact and cultural sensitivity. As technologies increasingly shape various aspects of the daily lives of the Orang Asli, it is essential to ensure that the systems are developed and implemented in a way that it respects and reflects the cultural values of the Orang Asli. And for example, this study from New Zealand, the incorporation of the indigenous perspectives such as Kaitia Ki Tanga of the Maori is a more inclusive approach to technology that prioritizes community well-being, environmental sustainability, and social justice. In terms of cultural sensitivity, AI systems informed by indigenous knowledge can better accommodate the unique cultural context and values of indigenous communities. For example, the AI application in healthcare can be designed to respect traditional healing applications, healing practices, and cultural belief, leading to more effective, competent care. And next is AI technologies can also enhance trust and collaboration between indigenous communities and technology developers, which then leading to a more successful outcomes. Next, we have environmental stewardship. The incorporation of indigenous knowledge can contribute to the development of AI technologies that focus on environmental stewardship by embedding the principles of, again, I took the example from Maori, New Zealand, from the principles of Kaitia Chitanka into AI governance, which can be designed to promote the sustainable practices and mitigate ecology harm. So this integration of AI and indigenous knowledge aligns with the growing recognition of the importance of environmental sustainability in addressing global sustainabilities on climate change and biodiversity loss. Then we have this theme on knowledge as communal resource. However, there is this limitation of current AI governance in the failure to account for communal aspects of indigenous knowledge systems. Many of these AI frameworks prioritize the technological determinism and individualism, undermining the collective values central to indigenous cultures. Sorry. Oh my God. Real.
Yes.
I don't know how to take care of your friend here. Thank you. I will continue from here. Thank you very much. Thanks. And lastly, the importance of indigenous knowledge systems. Why is it so important? These systems of indigenous knowledge provide holistic frameworks, prioritize community welfare, environmental harmony, and most importantly is the concept of interconnectedness. And these combined values address the limitations of our Western-centric AI governance, as what the third team mentioned just now. The methodology I used here is a 6I model, which critically examining the theoretical framework and empirical studies. The first step is interaction. And in any time, if the studies come through, then we will start with the understanding of the indigenous language, indigenous knowledge frameworks from the Orang Asli. And this is a very critical step in ensuring a meaningful interaction could be sustained between the Orang Asli and the designers of the systems that to live with. And second step is imagine, where we create spaces where communities, Orang Asli communities, come together to imagine, as well as other stakeholders will come together and imagine how those knowledge frameworks of Orang Asli might be integrated with AI. Then thirdly will be this step of identification, whereby when AI and indigenous knowledge work together, we have to identify the knowledge framework to make it amenable to AI methods. Then we have the fourth stage of improvement. This is where the team of AI experts as well as the indigenous community, the Orang Asli, will work together to develop these models as well as the data sets to integrate their knowledge with the AI methods, and then implement. When come to implement, those models and data sets are validated and refined through interactive feedback loops with Orang Asli as well as the stakeholders. Finally, we have this integration where the new technology developed is integrated into community practices. This step of integration is to foster active participation and co-creation with Orang Asli, providing them spaces to contribute their expertise and ensuring that technology is weaved into their existing context rather than imposed upon them. And with this technology, the most important to us, to my study, is this component of capacity building, whereby in all my studies as well as the studies of other researchers in Malaysia, we aim to train the future generations of the Orang Asli as well as the indigenous researchers to increase the capacity of Orang Asli members to extensively engage with AI. Then come to my discussion of the systematic review. According to previous studies, Maori communities in New Zealand have used Kaitia Te Tangau as a guiding concept in environmental stewardship, resulting in more effective management of fisheries and forests. And a compelling case is the restoration of native forests in New Zealand, where Maori-led programs, Maori or Maori, when I was in Victoria University of Wellington, they pronounce as Maori. Maori-led programs have shown that Kaitia Kitanga is beneficial in enhancing biodiversity and ecological health. Indigenous knowledge has been used to complement AI ethical principles in discovering native species that are both culturally significant and environmentally beneficial. Incorporating traditional ecology knowledge into reforestation activities has helped Maori people recover damaged landscapes, enhance habitat for local animals, and improve ecosystems resilience. So, this question is very important to me and our people in Malaysia. Can indigenous knowledge of Orang Asli in Peninsular Malaysia and AI complement each other, particularly in terms of social sustainability, to promote the well-being of indigenous communities? Well, the answer is yes, we can do it. Over the previous few years, we have seen incidents of AI-related activities for Orang Asli in Peninsular Malaysia carried out by researchers and the Malaysian government sector. For example, Bala and Tan's study shows that the usability and sustainability of the telecenter show up the digital inclusion of the Orang Asli communities. Second, we have a press release from the Ministry of Finance, Malaysia in 2023 stated that our first AI learning center to be set in has been set in one of the Malaysian higher learning institution, which is the University Technology Malaysia. And third, we have this study from Ng and News, which stated that Orang Asli students throughout taught virtual reality was a useful tool that inspired them to learn. So finally, in order to make the ideal of indigenous knowledge, IK, plus AI, which I term it as a marriage between IK and AI, a reality, all stakeholders must work together to integrate IK into AI governance. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Vivien. My suggestion, please use Aotearoa. That's the name of our country. Aotearoa.
Oh, okay, from your country.
Yeah, no, Aotearoa. Don't use New Zealand.
Okay. Because I can't pronounce it nicely, so I use New Zealand. I worry that they cannot.
I can't pronounce New Zealand.
Aotearoa.
The land of the long white cloud.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Please, we have time for a question.
I have a question.
Sure. Thank you very much for your questions in advance.
Thank you. That was wonderful. It took me back actually a few years to when I worked with, as you mentioned, Orang Asli. I'm hoping I'm calling them correctly, in North Sumatra in Indonesia during the Habibie presidency. The UN sent me to a particular village to work with GTZ, who was trying to introduce the community to what the GTZ at the time called holistic economic development or democratic economic development, which is the same model used by Germany. One of the lessons we learned together during that experience is that you cannot impose a top-down reform projects on the indigenous groups. And the Germans were very careful to basically organize their projects on a 10-year period rather than 6 months or 1 year like other donors. And the reason they did it like that is because they wanted the people slowly to sort of accept the new knowledge and transform slowly, so you're not imposing it on them, but you're actually helping them feel that it's their own knowledge. Once they realize that, oh, this is great, this is going to help me and help my children tomorrow, they might accept it faster. So now we're talking about AI, and now my mind is, okay, linking AI to that situation in the village, and how can we then bring those people on board, faster? Because the GTZ project took 10 years. It worked, but it's a long period, and I monitored what was happening, and yeah, to some degree, they were successful. But now AI is like, it's like yesterday. They want you to change, it's very fast, yeah? So yeah, are there any new thinking as to how we can expedite that transformation? Yeah. In a democratic way, meaning in a nice way, or a sustainable way, in a friendly way to so people do not backlash at us and say, oh, look at you, you come from the developed world with your money and this and that, and sorry, we don't want you. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much for your questions. First of all, before I give my answer, I thank you for giving me the content of European donors. I welcome any one of these European donors, as well as UNESCO, to come to Malaysia. Our Orang Asli need you. Yeah. Okay, not only on AI, but particularly for AI. All right, to answer your questions. Over the years, I've been doing my research on orang asli. All our researchers in Malaysia, we know that there is no fast way or what you call touch and go way, yeah, when you come to the Kok village and you do an interview with them and then you impart your knowledge to them. They will not work. That definitely not working as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
But my older years, I mean the last few years, I have been practicing this. My part is very much in terms of healthcare. Yeah. Like COVID-19, I went into the villages. I trained the young people. I gave them my knowledge. I bring my students in to teach them what to take care in terms of the hygiene and all those needed in terms in order for them to teach their people in the village. So this group of people, we call them as paramedic. So for AI, I believe, to cut it short, yeah, I believe there will be a lengthy period for us to get these orang asli to get to know what is AI. But this lengthy period can be cut short because our people, our orang asli in Peninsular Malaysia, they are very well versed with handphone. Some of them have 2 or 3 handphones. Yeah. So to me, the first step of them thinking of the technologies of AI can be cut short. So next is we need to bring the young people from the village out to workshop. We have to conduct workshop in order to get the young people to understand the benefits of AI in getting the community's well-being. So these workshops is not touch and go again. We need workshops, numerous, several times of workshops. It could be over a year or 2, and not only workshops to the young generations. Researchers ought to be there in the village.
Yeah.
On and off, we will go in and test and see how the young people, and when we enter the village, we don't go in as researchers, we are their friends. Yeah, this is what I have been doing. I am their friend and I go in and I have what we call party. Sometimes I carry out, I don't know whether you know about karaoke.
Yes.
Okay,
Very popular.
okay. My very recent project with my students before I retire from my university, National University of Malaysia. We organize a karaoke, and during the karaoke competition, they have to answer our questions on COVID-19. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, they learned. The women, especially, we cater for the women because this is a public known fact. Because the women in the villages are the ones that do not have anything to do. So that make them commit to some of these illegal behavior like gambling.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So gambling is something that we are trying to do away for the women in our villages. Time's up, is it?
Thank you very much.
Okay then.
Thank you.
Thank you
Any
so
other
much.
questions?
Very interesting. So
Thank you.
we'll talk in the lunchtime about the questions.
Yes.
Thank you so much
This is
for
what I
that.
want to see.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.